I am a project manager in this consortium. Keep watching cutting-edge research at Kenyatta University Television.
Happy Jamhuri Day on this 12th December 2023. President William Ruto today led Kenyans in celebrating the 60th Jamhuri Day, which was held around the theme Youth and Creative Economy. But are the youth really having something to smile about on this Jamhuri Day? I'll be speaking to Kennedy Sankara, who is a youth policy analyst, as well as Kaikai Naifamei, who is the chairperson, the Youth Caucus of Kenya, to just make sense of what the event today was as we analyze whatever took place, the speeches that were given, that and many more in the course of this broadcast. That is later on. But first of all, we look at the stories, starting with these highlights. President Ruto says the economy is responding positively to his administration's policy interventions as Kenya marks 60th Jamhuri Day. Neighbors Uganda, Tanzania, Burundi and Ethiopia join Kenya in marking 60 years of independence with a promise of continued collaboration. Kenyan diaspora in Texas, United States trace their roots back home as they mark Jamhuri Day in a faraway land. And in sports, star athlete Faith Kipyegon feted with highest state honors for exemplary performance in 2023 track events.
This is KUTV Primetime News with DENIS OMONDI.
Okay, our sign language interpreter this evening is Evans Odhiambo. Good evening once again and welcome to this broadcast. Now, we start from that Jamhuri Day where Kenyans stand up in large numbers at the Uhuru Gardens for the 60th Jamhuri Day celebrations. Kenyans who started streaming in at the venue before daybreak followed expectantly as scheduled events unfolded seamlessly. In the spirit of the theme of the event, which was Youth and Creative Economy, various artists cutting across generations formed part of the entertainment lineup showcasing their crafts.
Thousands of Kenyans flocked to Uhuru Gardens to commemorate the 60th Jamhuri Day celebrations with pomp and color. The Kenya Defence Forces opened the feat with trooping of color of the 19th Battalion Kenya Rifles parading their flag at the colorful ceremony attended by several dignitaries. With the arrival of President William Ruto and successful parade inspection, the day's festivities finally began. One by one, soldiers in their ceremonial regalia displayed their marching skills, and later on the air forces took to the skies. The celebration continued with several performances, including iconic figures such as Vitimbi Crew, including Inspector Mwala. Artists Bahati, Bensol, Eric Wainaina, and Mwalimu Wasonga brought the stadium together with song and dance. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja, while commemorating the day, invited Kenyans to converge for the Nairobi Festivals that runs from the 12th to the 17th of this month to celebrate urban culture and the youth.
Our trials and our triumphs since independence teach us two lessons, Your Excellency. We advance when we set aside our differences and commit ourselves to the common good. We fall behind when we are divided. So the first thing that this new generation of leaders must do is to rededicate ourselves to national unity.
In his address, President William Ruto noted that the country has made undeniable progress over the last 60 years.
According to the vision of our forefathers who fought for this country's freedom, independence was intended to bestow on us the gift of political as well as economic self-determination. This anniversary gives us the opportunity to gather as a family and reflect together on how we have fared over the course of 6 decades.
The Jamhuri Day celebrations featured several activities, including a military parade, cultural performances, and a national address showing Kenyans' pride as they celebrated at 60. Yvonne Kemuma, KUTV.
President William Ruto says that the economy is right on track thanks to his administration's policy interventions. A report from the Controller of Budget and recent statements from Treasury CS Njuguna Ndung'u had suggested that the economy is struggling. Ruto also used his 60th Jamhuri Day speech to outline his achievements 1 year into office. Edward Nyamu reports on the good news the president had for Kenyans, including removal of visa requirements for visitors starting January 2024.
President William Ruto has stated that Kenya is now out of debt distress, for he has mobilized funds from investors and banks to reduce the debt burden.
Proudly, these sacrifices have paid off. I can now confirm, without fear of any contradiction, that Kenya is safely out of the danger of debt distress and that our economy is on a stable footing. The economic indicators point to good news. Inflation is now 6.8%, down from a high of 9.2% a year ago.
Ruto also stated that the current generations has the power to actualize economic transformation through the vast opportunities available in the employment sector, calling on the youths to embrace their talent, stating that Kenya has partnered with Hollywood studios in identifying talents in Kenya.
This administration has also taken deliberate steps to build and invest in the creative economy. First, the famous Grammy Awards have a partnership with us, and starting January, the Innovation Studios of Hollywood have agreed to begin shooting multiple movie rights here in Kenya.
Additionally, the president has highlighted that come January, Kenya will be a visa-free country for visitors from African nations. Ruto highlighted that this will be a plus to the economy as it will attract investors and tourists.
Beginning January 2024, Kenya will be a visa-free country. It shall no longer be necessary for any person from any corner of the globe to carry the burden of applying for a visa to come to Kenya. To echo the call of the Turkana people to the world, Tobongu Lore, a simple message to humanity: welcome home.
The head of state also lauded the agriculture sector for playing a role in stabilizing the economy and at the same time highlighting that the affordable housing agenda is the way to deal with unemployment.
Kenyans, our housing program is fundamentally a massive, deliberate and systematic job creation mechanism. Agriculture ladies and gentlemen, plays a central and pivotal role in our economy, contributing to food security, supplying raw materials for our agro-processing and value addition and manufacturing for domestic and export markets, creating jobs and also creating wealth.
In commemorating this day, President William Ruto has called on Kenyans to embrace togetherness and empower each other in the business sector, particularly on the creative space, so as to enhance economic productivity. Edward Nyamo, KUTV, Nairobi.
The guest list at today's Jamhuri Day commemoration included 4 African leaders. Among them were Zanzibar President Hussein Mwinyi, Ethiopia's Saleh Work, and Burundi's Prosper Bazobanza, as well as Ugandan First Deputy Prime Minister Rebecca Kadaga. The visiting dignitaries urged continued collaboration between African countries for Africa's economic growth and technological development. Dorothy Musyoka has more.
As Kenya marked 60 years since its independence, African leaders joined the country in celebrating the achievements it has made for the past 60 years.
Kwa niaba ya serikali pamoja na wananchi wote wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, napenda nitumie fursa hii kutoa pongezi nyingi kwa serikali na wananchi wa Kenya kwa kuadhimisha siku hii ya kihistoria kwa taifa lenu. Kipekee naipongeza sana serikali na wananchi wa Kenya kwa mafanikio makubwa mlioyapata katika kipindi cha miaka 60 iliyopita.
I once again congratulate all Kenyans upon celebrating the 60th independence anniversary and wish you good luck and happy celebrations.
In attendance was the first Prime Minister of Uganda, Rebecca Kadaga, and Minister for the East African Community Affairs. On her sentiments, she pointed out the need for Africa to take initiatives that would be crucial in bettering its overall economic outlook, highlighting Africa's cheap labor and its available raw materials and ready market, a move that will guarantee a better future.
Our chief interest should be to secure the survival and prosperity for our children and their children. There is no better guarantee for their future than working towards political and economic integration of Africa.
Burundian Vice President Prosper Bazobanza highlighted the importance of unity, determination and self-confidence in securing economic and technological development in Africa.
Another important fight must continue: the economic and technological Jamhuri. We must lead this fight with determination, unity and self-confidence as Africans.
Zanzibar President Hussein Mwinyi, on his part, acknowledged the long-term relationship between the Kenyan and Tanzanian government that has contributed to Zanzibar's economic growth and investment.
Napenda nitumie fursa hii kuahidi kuwa serikali ya Tanzania itaendelea kushirikiana bega kwa bega na serikali ya Kenya katika kukuza na kuimarisha zaidi uhusiano na ushirikiano wetu wa kidugu na kihistoria kwa manufaa ya nchi zetu mbili.
Ethiopian President Saleh Work Zewde, who was also present in the celebrations held at Uhuru Gardens, Nairobi, expressed pride in being at the forefront to witness the achievements that Kenya has made, even as calls to unify Africa remained the order of the day. Dorothy Musyoka, KUTV.
As the National Jamhuri Day celebrations were underway in Nairobi's Uhuru Gardens, counties were marking the day in various stadiums dotting the Republic. As Aisha Saif narrates, Kenyans used today's occasion to appeal to the government to bring down the high cost of living. Here is Jamhuri Day County Edition.
Nairobi residents today throng Uhuru Garden to join the rest of the country in celebrating Jamhuri Day with Kenyans, urging the government to give job opportunities to youths and to reduce the cost of living.
Sherehe ya leo imenifurahisha. Nimeona rais ameongea mambo muhimu, na ile kitu ningesema kwangu, ajaribu kutafutia vijana kazi.
Uchumi imekuwa kali, maisha imekuwa ngumu. Hata umeona leo uwanja ijajaza watu kwa ajili watu hawana pesa ya kukuja, watu hawana chakula. Wamesema unge imeteremka, lakini hatuoni unge ikiteremka. Tunataka unge ikiteremka iwe 75.
In Kiambu County, Broadway Group of Companies and Kamenu Ward MCA provided packed food and rich flour to Kimuchu residents Thika Town. Celebrating 60 years in business, Broadway continued aiding Kiandutu and Gatunyanga residents aimed at a tough economic year. CEO Bimal Shah voiced concern over the high cost of living, optimistic about improvement next year. Kamenu MCA Peter Mburu highlighted job losses due to company closures and called for government intervention.
Of course, as investors, we are all going through a rough patch with all these levies and the taxes which have been introduced. But all in all, there is a time where we can complain, and there's a time where we can say that, look, we need to continue also supporting the local public.
Viwanda vingi sana hapa Thika zimedidimia kwenda chini ama nyingi zimefungwa kwa sababu ya hali ya uchumi ambao ni mbaya. Na sasa vile ilivyo, ni ombi langu tu kwa serikali kuu, hii ingeweza kupiga boost ama kupiga jeki hizi viwanda ili ziweze kurudi kufanya kazi.
Bomet Governor Professor Hilary Barchok acknowledged the tough economic times inherited from their previous regime. Professor Barchok praised the president's provision of subsidized fertilizers while at the same time challenging the government to offer better prices for maize farmers.
Kiuchumi, we have been having challenges. Na hii challenge ambayo tuko nayo sio challenge ambayo ilianzishwa na hii administration ya Rais Dr. William Samoei Ruto. The problems that we are facing currently, hii shida yote is a problem that was inherited. Ombi letu kwa Rais is that our farmers must be given good prices. Hatutaki middlemen wa take advantage.
Meanwhile, Bomet County Commissioner Dr. Ahmed Omar urged chiefs and police to be vigilant against illicit brew sales during Christmas and called for operations to curb the illegal businesses. Aisha Saif, KUTV.
Okay, we are due for our very first short break here. Remember, when we come back, we look at Kenya at 60, the youth perspective. I'll be speaking to Kennedy Sankara, who is a youth policy analyst, as well as Kaikai Naipamei, who is the chairperson, the Youth Caucus of Kenya. Also, we'll tell you how Kenyans in Texas, United States, celebrated their Jamhuri Day. All that after this short break. Don't go too far.
Kipindi hewani ni mitindo ya kipwani. Kama ilivyo kipindi hiki kinahusu nyimbo za tarab, chakacha, midwara, midundiko, bila kusahau mapishi. Ambao ndio uti wa mgongo wa pwani ya Afrika Mashariki.
Jamani, swahibu zangu mliopo maskani, hatuonani wenzangu, najua mwanitamani.
Hapa KUTV, nahodha mwendesha chombo cha baharini, yani ua linalonukia na kuvutia waridi tamu.
Hi, my name is Stella Tioi.
Jina langu naitwa Okemwa Mokwa James.
This is Mandela Gaya.
Ugonjwa ulipokuja ulichukua siku 3 ukaniweka in coma. 20 wamezikwa, 2 ndio wako hai.
I don't even know how it feels to see.
I feel like I cannot express myself well the way somebody who can walk can actually express themselves.
Ilichukua muda mwingi mrefu tena mpana ili kuikubali kwamba mimi siwezi tembea tena.
I've come to actually accept myself.
Ukijaribu kumsimamisha mtu umwambie tafadhali nionyeshe njia,
they find it quite strange talking to you.
You should just make schools integrated,
inclusive setups,
by providing the right facilities.
Shuhuda zako hazielezeki. Oh, umefanya hili, umefanya lile, umenipa jina Baba.
what is this? A stick, right? And what has happened to the stick? Imevunjika, right? Follow me. They say broken things can't be fixed, right? But that's a lie. Kwani, why did Jesus die on the cross? It is so that those who are broken can be fixed. Now, that is why this program is here. Believe and live. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever, anybody who believes in him will not perish but have everlasting life. Whosoever believes shall live. John 3:16. Catch me right here only on KUTV every single Sunday. Now, good news, there'll also be a subsequent series called Biblical Mathematics, but you'll only catch it right only on my YouTube channel at Believe and Live, John 3:16. See you there.
Focus on Health is a show that creates awareness on matters health and informs you on various diseases, their causes, treatment, prevention, coping, and support. So join me, Bari Michelle, every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. only on KUTV. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at KUTV Focus on Health on Facebook and also on YouTube, and Health Focus on Instagram, because your health is your wealth. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more only on Law Matters.
We are all seeing the impacts of climate change. In Kenya, for example, the frequency of the floods is becoming more and worse. The amount of people and livestock we're losing.
The level we need to go is a level where the normal mwananchi and also the government stakeholders can uptake these solutions.
Those small acts multiplied by millions of us will help make a difference in the world at the end of the day.
It's just a slight behavior change that we need, and you'll find that it serves us a bit more than you put in. And that's the goal. We want to live a better world than we found, because at the rate we are going, it's dire.
We will secure the planet for future generations.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Pepo pasi vuguvugu. Pepo pa ni idea.
Tazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu
kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, hiyo inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni Duniani Leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
You are watching KUTV Primetime News with DENIS OMONDI.
Welcome back and welcome to the State of the Nation on this Tuesday, the 12th December, which happens to be the Jamhuri Day 2023. Kenya is celebrating 6 decades of independence. We saw the fanfare and the speeches that were given today at Uhuru Gardens as President William Ruto led the country in marking these 60 years. But have we gotten to the place where our forefathers, the founding fathers of this nation, had wished for the country to be? This particular event was themed around youth and the creative economy. But are the youth feeling like they own the country today, or is it still about the old guard and the youth are just but bystanders? We look at that this evening. We take count of the 60 years with Kennedy Sankara, who is a youth policy analyst. He's already in studio with me. Thank you so much, Kennedy, for joining me this evening. Thank you. And also we are having Kaikai Naipamei, who is the chairperson, the Youth Caucus of Kenya. Thank you so much, lady. Good evening.
Good evening.
You seem like you want to correct me on something. Yeah. You can go ahead. Yep.
My title was changed. Okay. Unless you didn't get it.
You can give me the correct one. I can do the correction.
Youth Champions for Sustainable Development Goals.
Okay, Youth Champion for Sustainable Development Goals.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Sankara, let me start with you this evening. As a young Kenyan, anything to be proud about after 60 years of being independent?
At least it's after 60 years that maybe some Kenyans, a majority, are waking up to the reality that gone are the days when we would go to elections to vote for people based on their tribal affiliations. But we are moving to an era where people are going to be elected not based on their ethnic extractions or regions of origin, but based on their content and character. That is a plus. A plus is in our health system. In as much as we have a lot of hurdles, you cannot compare the health system that my grandma, who is 78, underwent during independence and the current health care scheme that we have in Kenya. In as much as NHIF has had issues, at least we are advancing. Challenges are bound to be there, but some are intentional, and that is where we draw the line. You look at our agricultural sector, I can say we've made 3 steps backward, as opposed to making any step, 1 step ahead, 3 steps behind. So we have not done well, because that begs the question of why did we attain independence? What was the motivation? The motivation was to achieve food sustainability, to achieve full power by the people, and etc. Some of these factors have not have been achieved, but again, we're in a black man's economy. So we are here as Kenyans. Yes.
And when you say, for example, when it comes to agriculture, maybe you are referring to food security and all that. Can we also attribute this that, let's say, for example, when we were getting independence, we are, I think, less than 10 million Kenyans. Right now we're talking about over 50 million Kenyans. Do you think that some of these are just...
remember, the government allocation is done per head. So when we increased from 10 million to 50 million, even our contribution to the national treasury must have improved from 10 million to 50 million. So there is no problem with numbers. The number is not the issue. How you manage the number should be the concern. So in this case, I would not think of the numbers being an issue. You know, when they were deploying 10 police officers to manage a constituency and the numbers increased, more people got jobs, so they continue to deploy more. So the numbers and the issue. If we were to base our conversation on the numbers, should we kill those people, the 40 million people, so that we get back to 10? No, we adjust. It is the art of an efficient human being to adjust with prevailing environmental circumstances, so that the human factor and all aspects of living still remain unchanged regardless. Yes.
Kai, in the 60 years, how do you rate Kenya over 60 years?
Thanks for having me again. For 60 years, that's 5 presidency. I think Kenya has come so far, but we are not yet where the countries that have attained 60 years of independence are. But that being put aside, we have improved a lot, because when we got independence, it was only a few were chosen to get access to education. But right now, education is a basic need in our institution, in our constitution, and in our government. That even a child born by a teenager can still access education. The mother can still go to a public school, and the child can still go to a public school. So in terms of literacy, we have really improved from, it was less than 2%, and now we are at 98%. That is primary school and high school. There's some challenges we have in high learning education institution, but it will be solved as time goes by. And then on matters of development, let's start with infrastructure. When we attained independence, we had just major roads and railway lines that were connecting from Mombasa to Nairobi to Kisumu because of a pipeline for fuel and gas and stuff like that. But right now, due to devolution, we have roads. Every region has an urban center, which has brought development, it has brought businesses, it has brought diversification in culture, and it has just strengthened the Kenya patriotism. Because as you speak right now, any Kenyan can set up a business anywhere, as long as you have the money and you have allocated a strategic position that you can put your business. No one is going to bother you. But during those time, when we attained independence, my dad used to say, like, there was some tension because some people felt like some communities collaborated and others didn't. But right now we have healed, and you do your business anywhere as long as you're a Kenyan. And that is important. Given that we have good infrastructures, roads, we have upgraded the railway, though that we didn't get the electronic trains that Uhuru promised us, but it is upgraded compared to 60 years ago. So in that sector, we have also moved as a country. In matters of technology, like, wow, we are the hub of tech. Nairobi is ranked by so many international newspapers that it is the leading innovation and technology, M-Pesa being the leading fintech, and so many other coming. We have Konza City, which is going to be a competitor of Silicon Valley, and it is 80% going to be completed. We have Tattoo Center, where it's a home that is competing with the homes that are found in Beverly Hills. Like, we have moved in some sectors, but in some sectors, like matters of, you know, land issues, we are still where we used to be. We have not yet found a very sustainable solution that we solve the land matters. Kenyans are still dying. Kenyans are still, some other Kenyans are still stealing from other Kenyans their land ownership. So in sector of land, we have a lot to do. And also matters of inclusivity, not tribal, but age-wise, we also have a lot to do. Because we are at 60 and young people are not given enough space to be included, be it in politics, be it in social life, be it in policy making. The young people are always decided on, we're giving you this number. Why can it be because we are 68% of the population, we are being given more numbers. But the irony is we are always included under youth, women, and PWDs. And remember, women are the biggest population in this country. Youth are the biggest population in this country. Yet we are not being given a bigger percentage. We're always given 30%.
Okay.
So those are the things that we need to work on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we are going to talk about that inclusivity. And just before we get to that and the place of the youth 60 years after independence, I want us to look at that. But first of all, today's speech, when the president was speaking, he said we have matured politically, and the only place where we are still lacking is the economic part, which he says they are working to get the economy of Kenya to the level of maturity that our politics has gotten to, saying that we have moved from having politics that is tribal and personality oriented, and we have moved to issue-based politics. Sankara, do you think that right now the Kenyan politician is a politician who we can say is a good example to other politicians, other countries can benchmark on?
Dennis, an individual is gauged on their character, what they exude to the general population. Allow me to tell you that the so-called political maturity is a broad concept that requires critical reassessment. What do we really mean by saying political maturity, especially from the person of the President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto? Not unless we do not appreciate history. We've understood and experienced the hurdles that have been experienced by political parties in the name of political maturity. Political maturity do not extend to political prostitution, where the government will always demand for, request for a vibrant opposition, and at the same time poach opposition MPs. They go to the corridors of justice. The constitution is applied in bits or in favor of certain coalitions. No, that is not political maturity. What the president referred to as political maturity, in my own view, which is my constitutional right, I don't call it maturity in their perspective, but it's political prostitution. You find an MP who has been nominated to the East African Legislative Assembly, defying the party that nominated him or her in support of another political party. In as much as independence of the mind is a constitutional provision, political party framework leadership under the Political Parties Act 2011 is crystal clear on the grounds on which a politician from a particular party may work with the other political party. You don't just wake up and declare your allegiance to a certain political party. And working together doesn't mean that we suspend the rule of the law. The president is very happy because he has used parliament to usurp the people's sovereignty. Yes, when you vote, when you propose a bill that abrogates the absolute power to the executive and the executive, let me say so, because it's the cabinet and the president. What do you mean? You are trying to say that the people have become the subservient arm of the government. In real sense, as per the provisions of Article 1.1 of the 2020 Constitution, the sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya. Yep. So the political maturity aspect is amiss. Maybe the explanation ought to have been broader so that we really understand what he means.
Because looking at his speech, he did not necessarily mention like the people who have, let's say, crossed over from the opposition and joined him in government, but he talked about the parliament itself. He said it is the currently it is the most independent, it is at the most independent point it has ever been in history. The judiciary, for instance, being that there were funds released to the judiciary, they are able to do their work on their own. Non-interference, constitutional commissions are working, very competent, talking about IEBC, talking about Commission for Revenue Allocation, and all the other commissions. I'll get back to you.
Let me just...
Kai, do you think that amounts to political maturity and just leadership?
Yeah, maybe we should juggle a little history we studied in social studies in primary school. So we were told, like, when Kenya attained independence, Mzee Wainji died on power, and then Moi took over. And during Moi time, all radio stations will always sing Raisi and stuff like that, and whoever who stood against his party. Yes, so for me, given that, yes, I wasn't born that time, we were born during Kibaki era, but the fact is that when you just read that history in class 6 and 7, you could actually appreciate the fact that Kenya has really matured politically. What do you think members of parliament from West Africa, from Rwanda, come to Kenya and benchmark in our parliament? They go to county assemblies and benchmark. Why? It's not because anyone has control over anything. It's because people appreciate history. That at some point, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, talking about the speech of the president, critiquing and agreeing with some part, and there's no police coming outside here and taking us. So yeah, on that end, if you appreciate history, you'll know that in as much as the path is not smooth, the fact is that we have really come a long way. And just to stress on something, the Constitution of Kenya is the highest rule of our land. And yes, we have political parties. Political parties draws their constitution from the Constitution of Kenya. So the Constitution of Kenya still remains to guide and rule the political parties. And as a matter of fact, we all have individual rights which the Constitution agrees to. So if today I vied using UDA, and then after 2 months, I don't believe in the supremacy of that party anymore, but I believe in the people who voted me in, and I believe that what I stand for is what will bring them development. I'll not be ashamed to support a bill that will help my people develop. So,
but how do we know that these people have told you, now we don't want you in this party? I mean,
no. So how do you also judge?
They gave you the votes in an election, an open election, free, fair, credible, and all that. But when you are leaving, we don't see you going to them to tell them that now vote again, let's decide which party I am going to. People are just crossing over.
48 hours ago, the president signed, less than 27 hours ago, because it was just yesterday, that he signed CDF, which has never been, it has always been discussed. It was not a bill. He signed that to be a law in our country. But we are so blinded to judge him, instead of thinking right now, there is no any other debate that will ever be brought after this 13th parliament about CDF. The president did that in collaboration with who? With the National Assembly. But instead of us appreciating important things, that it's going to ensure that even if I die today and I leave a kid and my parents are poor, that child will still have a future because they can go to school and they can get a bursary. So that alone, he has removed where there is always a pull and push, where some members of parliament or some people in the executive say, you know, members of parliament cannot demand more from treasury because CDF is not constitutional. But right now it is constitutional. So they will demand more so that they renovate classes after 4 years. They give the best environment for public school pupils and students to study. So yes, we understand that we are still a third world country. We cannot get 100% success as what we want as individual, but let's give credit where it's due.
Fine. Let's take our very first, the second break now. But the first one, since we started State of the Nation, we are coming back in a very short while. Don't go too far.
Kenyatta University will hold its 54th graduation ceremony on Friday, 15th December 2023 at the main campus along Thika Superhighway. KUTV will provide live coverage of the graduation ceremony. The graduation will also be streamed live on KUTV, KU Radio, KU website, and all KU social media platforms. For more information, please contact the Office of the Registrar Academic on 020-870-30920, 0786-335-111, or visit the Kenyatta University website on www.kenyatta.edu.ke. The theme for the graduation ceremony is Scaling Education and Research for Sustainable Development. Kenyatta University, transforming higher education, enhancing lives.
Kutoka kuwa jamii ya kuhamahama na sasa kujumuisha kilimo katika mitindo yao ya maisha. Kwenye toleo la kaunti ya Narok, hii ni Boresha Kilimo, kwani afya bora ni kilimo bora.
Kwani kilimo ndicho huboresha maisha.
You are watching KUTV Primetime News with DENIS OMONDI.
Okay, welcome back to the State of the Nation. We continue with our discussion. Remember, we are looking at Kenya 60 years later after that independence we got in 1963, 12th of December. We are proud that we managed to get out of the shackles of the colonizer, but have we managed to make the steps we longed and yearned for when we got this independence? Ladies and gentlemen, today it was meant to be all about the young people, creative economy, digital economy, and all that. Do you think that the strategies, the policies that the Ruto administration has put forward so far have looked after the needs of the young people? Also, considering the fact that we just hosted the Youth Connect Africa Summit, which I understand you attended.
May I boycotted?
Why?
I attended, but the theme of Africa Youth Connect had a big mismatch from what was organized. That was more of a political rally where politicians came to show their mastery of deceit and conmanship. I was in KICC. I walked around those booths or tents. I am not speaking as a Rumamonga.
What qualifies it to be a political rally?
It qualifies to be a political rally when you turn it to be a lecture session. Let the youth showcase their talents and abilities.
Yes.
By mentioning the tents, I would sample by age. I am fairly knowledgeable. I can employ the 5 senses that I was given by God to make the right and rational decision.
Yes.
But I walked around, not myself, in a company of the youth senators. We were around 10 and some international guys. We would realize that the tents that were set for youths actually, no, the actual youth sat in those tents. I don't mean the general tents, but the desks.
Yes.
Those particular desks were primarily set there so that young people with the talents and abilities would showcase their manifestation of their expertise in those particular areas, the techno-savvy, whatever, all these sorts of creativity. That was not the thing. You would find one tent, UN taking almost 3 tents in one row. What are the UN showcasing that Kenyan youth cannot showcase? Let us give Africans opportunity to be Africans. In as much as we embrace globalization, globalization should not mean submersion of the African concept. So the Youth Connect, to me, it adds 0 impact. Let me tell you why. You walked into KICC. I'm talking as a delegate.
Yes.
I was there. First, accessing the venue was an uphill task. There was some sort of disorganization entirely. Actually, when it came to the execution, the framers failed because they never put the youths to the forefront of executing this entire stuff. Someone just sat somewhere and came up with a concept, and they implemented it on their own perspective. I have dealt with politicians because, you know, I worked with the president in the last election. I worked in this team. I know some of these guys and how crooked they are, and they are the same people who took a center stage in managing this particular event. So African Connect is a past thing. That was not to form the basis of my conversation.
Yes.
But the theme of today about creation of youth, opportunity, and blah, blah. I want us to argue from an economic perspective. As an economist, We cannot achieve economic sustainability as long as we continuously expand the tax base without a sustainable income to the people's pocket. The tax base in this case, look at the financial policies that the Kenya Kwanza administration has passed since they took over as the president or as the government. These economic policies have a long stretch all the way to agriculture. When I was talking about agriculture, the World Bank that has been on our neck with excessive and unrealistic loans has got a policy of 100% seed certification. The 100% seed certification is aimed at killing the African indigenous crop farming, because that is the backbone of economic sustainability. I would tell you from an agricultural perspective that when you plant a certified seed this season, like in Kisumu, we plant in 2 seasons. You can plant in January, harvest in June, and do another one in August. When you grow this particular seed in August, in January, you harvest and grow the same in August, you miss the production. When you do the same with the indigenous seeds, I'm telling you the production is surplus. So these policies do not really aim to sustain the local production, because the local production is the generator of GDP. The per capita income will only be a considerate amount when we have the General Development Fund flexible to the 4 corners of the country. So a lot of things, there are a lot of mismatches that if you give me time I can explain to you, and you definitely agree with me.
You allow me, you'll get the last chance because of the time. I'm told I'm running out of time. But do you feel like Kenyan youth are patriotic today? They are participating in political processes. Let's say, look at the last election. Some registered, they did not turn up to vote actually. Today I was seeing the clerk of the National Assembly saying youth are not participating in parliamentary processes. Do you think that the Kenyan youth are patriotic today? Is there anything to hope for, even as I take your final comment? Briefly.
As I said earlier, we are 68% of the population of the 53 million people in this country. But most of the time, we are given a space of 30%.
Yes.
So the reason why most youth are not involved in policies and political processes is because they feel tired, they feel pushed away, they feel like they are suffocating. So instead of them suffocating, they give these guys a choice of like, instead of us suffocating, just take the whole space. So at this point where I'm seated at, I am directing this directly to the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Sports, and Creative Economy. So that department is solely where we should be leaning on, because it is our space. But what is funny enough is they are only focusing on one bracket of what the youth want, sports.
Yes.
How many people are sports in your family?
And talents.
Yeah, how many people? But all the youth have at least attained a Form 4 certificate. That means they can do something beyond sports and something. But this ministry is not even supporting them, the bigger population. So what my parting shot is, for the youth of Kenya, we need to have a conversation next year with that ministry to explain to us which way. Because we cannot have a house that we should be leaning on and it is not listening to our cries.
Fine. My director is on my neck.
Allow me to tell you this. 60 years,
1 second, please.
60 years after independence, or before independence, we were battling inadequate labor supply, inadequate capital, ignorance, poverty, and above all, diseases. Today, a woman can still die because of an access of medical facility 60 years after independence. Today, we still have a lot of young people languishing in abject poverty despite attaining the basic secondary education. As we speak today, we still have these so-called unbearable and unrealistic foreign policy-led loans that are overburdened the citizens of the Republic of Kenya. We are above that.
Thank you so much.
60 years, look at the Singapore. They used MPH system, that is meritocracy, pragmatism, and honesty.
Thank you, Sankara.
That is something we lack as a country.
We'll continue this some other time. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm seeing David Kimingichi saying we are on YouTube. Grace Nabulu says, say hi to Naipame. I think she knows you.
Hi to.
I've been speaking to Kennedy Sankara, who is youth policy analyst, and of course Kaikai Naipame, who tells me she's the youth champion for sustainable development. I hope I got it right this time round. Okay, now moving on. Kenyans living in Texas, United States, were not left behind in celebrating this Jamhuri Day. The event, which was organized by the Kenya Diaspora Advisory Committee for Texas, took place in Dallas County and was attended by the Kenyan ambassador to the US, that is Lazarus Amwayo.
Kenyans living in Texas in the United States were not left behind in the Jamhuri Day celebrations as they held a ceremonial event on Saturday in Dallas County, an event which was organized by the Kenya Diaspora Advisory Council, KDAC, and led by the Kenyan ambassador to US, Mr. Lazarus Amayo, as the goal of the celebration was to keep alive the Kenyan traditions and customs.
So we are happy that we had good food. The vibe was amazing. That was the same vibe in Kenya. We met as a family. You know, in Kenya back then, I don't know if it's still the same now, after the 10th, businesses were done. And now to have that same vibe where we are feeling the festivities coming in, we are eating, we are having a good time.
Ambassador Amayo applauded the event as he stated that it was a great to mark the celebration in Dallas, where he claimed to be the largest concentration of Kenyans living in the US. He also cited the efforts of the Kenya Kwanza government in keeping a smooth relationship with the Kenyans in diaspora and promoting trade between Kenya and the United States.
Dallas happens to be a place where we have the largest concentration of the Kenyan diaspora. And so I'm happy that the diaspora have been able to come together, invite their friends to celebrate this landmark in Kenya's history.
The event, which was celebrated through Kenyan songs and meals, according to the attendees, brought back the memories of the experiences of their motherland. As the country marks its 60th year since becoming a republic, it will be remembered that the Kenya's relations with the US began in the year 1964 after the British colony officially handed over the government to the hands of the local leaders. Currently, the United States is the country with the highest number of Kenyan citizens. Derek Odhiambo, KUTV.
And now in sports, double Olympic 1500 meters champion Faith Kipyegon was today feted with the highest state honor, that is Elder of the Order of the Golden Heart, by President William Ruto during the 60th Madaraka Day celebrations. The honor recognizes her exemplary performances in the track events this year. Kipyegon had a stellar 2023 in which she broke the 1500 meters world record in Florence on June 2nd after clocking 3 minutes and 49 seconds before breaking the 5000 meters world record by clocking 14 minutes and 5 seconds in the Paris Diamond League. Faith Kipyegon was yesterday named the Athlete of the Year in field events women's category in a ceremony held in the city of Monte Carlo, Monaco.
Conferred upon our world-beating athlete, Faith Kipyegon, the rank and status of Elder of the Order of the Golden Heart, the highest honor our country awards its citizens who illuminate the path of excellence.
And Kenyan athletes dominated the 2023 Athletics Awards in an awards ceremony held in the city of Monte Carlo, Monaco. 2016 and 2021 Olympic 1500 meters champion Faith Kipyegon was named the Female World Athlete of the Year in track events after a stellar season saw her break three world records in both the 1500 and 5000 meters races. Kelvin Kiptum won the Male World Athlete of the Year year in marathon races after he set a new world record of 2 hours and 35 seconds in the Chicago Marathon in October, breaking a record once held by the legendary Eliud Kipchoge. Kenya's youngsters Emmanuel Wanyonyi and Faith Cherotich were feted with the Rising Athletes of the Year awards. Other top athletes awarded in the ceremony include Ethiopia's marathon runner Tigist Assefa and USS Noah Lyles. Still on awards, Nigeria and SSC Napoli striker Victor Osimhen pipped Egypt and Liverpool forward Mohamed Salah and Moroccan PSG defender Ashraf Hakimi to be crowned as the African Footballer of the Year in a ceremony organized by the Confederation of African Football (CAF) in the city of Marrakesh, Morocco. Fellow Nigerian and FC Barcelona Femeni forward Asisat Oshoala was awarded the Women's Footballer of the Year award for the 6th time in her career, as Nigeria was named the Women's National Team of the Year. Morocco's national team head coach Walid Regragui was named Men's Coach of the Year after Morocco's exploits in the 2022 World Cup saw an African nation reach the semi-finals of the FIFA World Cup tournament for the first time in history, and also saw them named as the Men's National Team of the Year. Egypt's Al Ahly FC was named as Club of the Year in the men's category, while South Africa's Mamelodi Sundowns bagged the same award in the women's category. For this evening, the UEFA Champions League final group stage matches are scheduled to kick off tonight with 8 matches on the cards. Manchester United will look to book a slot to the round of 16 when they host Group A leaders Bayern Munich at Old Trafford, while Arsenal, who have already qualified for the round of 16, play away to PSV Eindhoven. 14-time champions Real Madrid will tackle FC Union Berlin. Italian champions SSC Napoli play against Braga as Inter Milan hosts Real Sociedad at the San Siro Stadium from 11 p.m. East African time. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of the news this evening. My name is DENIS OMONDI, and our sign language interpreter tonight is Evans Odhiambo. Thank you so much for watching us this evening. See you again some other time, and happy Jamhuri Day, though it's already late. Good night.